Hi, I'm Mike DiVirgilio. So today we have with us John Nardi, Mr. John Nardi, the president of the Shipping Association of New York and New Jersey, with us today. And first question I got for John is: for decades, your organization was known as the New York Shipping Association, or NYSA. We are creatures of habit, but you just recently decided to change the name to the Shipping Association of the Port of New York and New Jersey. Why?
Why? Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, interesting question. So the New York Shipping Association was created back in the 1950s. And back in the 1950s, the overwhelming majority of port work was done in New York, the piers in Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Yes.
Since that time, the work from a labor perspective especially has really migrated over to New Jersey, where 90% of the work that happens in the port, especially containerized cargo, occurs in New Jersey. And we find ourselves involved in a lot of different initiatives, dealing with infrastructure and some investments and political issues as well. And we found that when we would show up, say, in Trenton, and meet with the legislators, they would look at our name and sort of ask us, well, what are you doing here if you're from New York?
Right.
So really, we're evolving like the port is evolving. And with the overwhelming majority of the business in the port being in New Jersey, we filed a DBA as the Shipping Association of New York and New Jersey to really reflect where the business happens and where our business takes place.
That's good. So I guess the question really is going to be how long it's going to take us creatures of habit to start using the new name versus the old name. So we'll see how that goes on in the future. But thank you for those comments. So part of what you do, John, your organization, is to supply labor here, longshore labor in the Port of New York, New Jersey, and we've seen really throughout the country a shortage of labor in all different aspects, perhaps pandemic related, retirement related, or whatever. But how do you see the labor situation here in the port within this port?
Yeah, so for the past couple of years, since the middle of 2020, when the volume really started to pick up, not just in our port, but in all ports, we were behind the curve when it came to having enough people to do the work, because the volume grew much faster than anybody had anticipated or forecasted. So since that time, we've been, hiring literally hundreds of people into the industry. Although there is a tight labor market, these are very desirable jobs.
Yep.
So we don't have tremendous difficulty finding the candidates, but we want to find the right candidates. This job is not for everybody.
Yeah.
You have to be there when it's 0 degrees out.
Yep.
You have to be there when it's snowing. You have to be there when it's 100 degrees out.
Yep.
And people find that out in a hurry, that this job is not for everybody. So we have a training program when we bring people on. We have them. The most longshoremen today are operating specific types of machinery, complex machinery. The old days of moving pallets and having a hook to carry a bag, that's gone. Today you need people who are capable of dealing with the elements and also driving this complicated, complex machinery that we have today to handle cargo.
Yeah, so and thank you for that. So with that, you mentioned bringing people in. Have you had success in bringing in, let's say, veterans from?
As a matter of fact, over the past 10 years, we've had various veteran hiring programs. And in 2015, we were recognized by the American Legion as the top veteran hiring organization in the country. We have a hiring plan that we jointly agree to with the ILA. And it started out where 50% of the new people we hired were veterans back 10 years ago, because the veteran unemployment level was very high. It was around 15% with the end of the Gulf War. And now we still, in our hiring plan, we hire at least 20% of our new hires are to be veterans. So, and veterans are, it works out well for both of us.
Yeah.
Veterans are accustomed to a similar environment
Yeah,
that we have
you would
here
think
in
so.
the port.
Yes, yes.
There's a lot of structure. You need to be in the right place when you're supposed to be there.
The weather doesn't cooperate.
The weather doesn't cooperate.
Right.
There's discipline involved, and it's dangerous too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So hiring veterans has really helped the industry. Fortunately for the veterans, the veteran unemployment levels are now even below the national unemployment levels, which are at very low levels.
Right.
So it seems like the veteran pool isn't as deep as it used to be, but
Right.
we're still committed to hiring veterans.
Well, that's great. That's great. And you may have answered, commented on this a second ago, but let me just expand on the technology part of it. So as the industry has evolved and the equipment has gotten more sophisticated and so on, and you also provide training. That part of, I think, what you do is provide training. So how do you see that moving forward? I mean, your training program robust, and they're going to continue?
Training is important. We spend over $10 million a year training people.
Right.
At all different types of jobs. Even today, you have to train people to drive a stick shift to get a car off a shift because nobody knows how to drive a stick
Including
shift
me,
anymore.
by the way, so I forgot how to do that.
But again, the machinery
Yeah.
is complex. You're up sometimes 30, 40 feet in the air on the terminal. If you're in a container crane, it's and there is no other place to get this type of training. So it's all done by the terminal operators and by the shipping association. Once we get the people in, we do all the training that we can. It helps to get people who have CDLs, who have done some commercial truck driving.
Right.
But for the most part, we're fully staffed with trainers. We use ILA trainers. The ILA trains the ILA, and it's probably the biggest choke point that we have with bringing new labor in is the amount of time that it takes to train people at this point.
Right. Right. Well, thank you. That's great to know. So let me just talk about, let's say, how you predict the future, if that's possible. We know that here in the port of New York, New Jersey, since maybe driven by the pandemic, probably quite a bit, the cargo volumes have increased tremendously, more than expectations, at least for the past year and a half or so. How do you see 2023? Do you see the situation continuing with the strong cargo volumes, and how does that impact what you do in terms of supplying labor for the terminals that have to handle that cargo?
Yeah, I think not just for New York and New Jersey, but for the whole port. We're at our highest levels that we've ever had for cargo. I think next year is going to be. I think everybody's going to take a small step back. All ports, not just New York and New Jersey, because it seems like the inventory in warehouses is quite high right now, and the economy is questionable. So I don't think we're going to have the growth that we've seen the last few years, but I still think that we're going to be operating at or near record levels for the foreseeable future.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Okay, so let me ask you this. Again, the responsibility of the Shipping Association of New York and New Jersey is to negotiate the contracts here, the local contracts here, as part of the master contract, the Maine to Texas contract, which, by the way, for those of you who know, the largest part of the U.S. and Gulf workforce is here in New York and New Jersey. I'm not sure exactly how many men you employ here. Maybe you can tell us that roughly.
Well, between us and the other associations, we have approximately 5,000 longshore workers.
No, 5,000. Right. Right, but the question is that the contract was you're in the tail end of a 6-year contract that expires in 2024.
Correct.
And the past 6 years have been peaceful on the waterfront, so to speak. And things have happened. The surge in cargo volume has been handled. That's all been great. I know you're starting the negotiations now for the new contract a bit early, which is probably a good thing.
Yep.
But could you comment on the reasons for that? Why there's been success or peace, for the past 6 years? What's been the driving forces of that?
Yeah. So it doesn't happen by itself.
Right.
It's not by accident.
Right.
It's about relationships and building trust. And I think throughout the years that I've been involved, and even my predecessors on the East Coast, we've had a very good relationship with the leadership of the ILA at the international level and also at the local level. And if we have a problem, we sit down and we talk it out. We try to find solutions, and we always find a solution. So, you know, they're very good jobs. The people make a great income, but it's hard work, like I said, and we recognize that. And it's really about delivering on what you've promised, right? So we've always delivered on what we've promised. The ILA has delivered on what they promised. And when we do have a bump in the road, instead of taking irrational actions on either side, we sit down and we talk it through.
Well, that's. I guess that's. We've heard this from other folks here this morning. You know, collaboration, cooperation, and communication is. It sounds simple, but
Yep.
I guess that's maybe the secret sauce, right? Of how things really should start, right? So,
Listen, even if you don't like the other person's position, if you understand it,
Yeah.
it makes it
Yeah.
easier to accept.
Yeah.
So I think the collaboration I know the collaboration that we have in this board is above and beyond what they have anywhere else. And that's not just with the ILA, it's with all stakeholders in
Right.
the board. You know, we've gone through a rough couple of years with, not with volume. The volume has been great, but handling it has been difficult with the, with the warehouse restrictions and the freight backing up onto the terminals. But we've, managed to sit with all stakeholders and talk about, what can we do to help you with your situation.
Right.
And it's not about what can you do to fix my problem.
Right.
It's what can I do to help fix your problem.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good. So thank you for that, John. So I'm going to ask you the last question is kind of a loaded question, but kind of what keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? That's a loaded question.
Well, let's say relative to your specific job, and how do you see things going forward?
You mean other than coming in for interviews?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, I think what you look at the future of the port. You look at the challenges that we're going to face here. We need to do things differently. We are not going to be able to continue to operate the same way that we had the past 50 years of containerization. We're sharing the infrastructure with the rest of the local communities around here, and with the growth that we've had, we've gone beyond the usual 8 to 5 job operations.
Yeah.
I think we need to shift the freight operations to off hours and nighttime, and not share the infrastructure with the rest of the commuters and
Right.
and others. So I think what I think about a lot when I'm up is, how do we do this going forward?
Yeah.
And it's not just the port. We could keep the terminals open whatever hours we want, but
Right.
the whole supply chain needs to be shifted to an off-hour operation. Maybe there's certain incentives that can be done to do that, whether it's with the Port Authority, with tolls, or somehow make it more attractive for truckers to work at night and for warehouses to work at night. But I think, compared to other ports, we're restricted land-wise, but
Yeah.
we also have a lot of time that isn't being used, where the infrastructure isn't being used, and we need to make better use of that going forward.
Great. Well, John, thank you, and thank you for your honesty today and the response to these questions. We wish you the best. We wish that everyone will start calling this the Shipping Association of New York and New Jersey going forward, which we'll start that as of today. But again, thank you for coming today, and all the best.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yeah.